Our most commonly asked question is, how much am I going to get from Social Security? And on the surface, that seems like such an easy question. It's your benefit. You should be able to figure it out. There should be an easy calculation. And there is. You can just access your portal and see what they tell you the calculation is. But if you want to figure it out on your own and make sure that what they're telling you is correct, it's a pretty complex formula, and it's a little bit hard to digest, but we wanted to break it down for you as easily as we could, in as many steps as we could, to show you step by step how your benefit is calculated. And so that's what we're going to do today. But first, I think it's important to note that you need to be eligible for Social Security before you can figure out how much you're going to receive. And so eligibility for Social Security is pretty simple. You have to have what's called 40 working credits. For the year 2024, you could get 1 credit per $1,624 of earned income that you reported, up to 4 per year. And so the general average worker is logging 4 credits per year, and you've got to do that for a period of 10 years over your lifetime to at least qualify at a minimum for Social Security benefit. You have to have 40 of those credits. Once you get 40 credits, you become eligible for your benefit once you get to age 62. And so once you get to age 62, then you need to figure out, or you probably should figure it out in advance, how much am I going to be able to collect from Social Security when I turn 62 or when I decide to file. And so we thought it would be important to note, how is that benefit calculated? And so we'll put it up for you on the screen here. And so your benefit is calculated with what's called adjusted earnings for inflation. So it's a AIME. It's calculated like this. Each year your earnings are indexed to account for wage inflation, reflecting changes in the average wage index over time. You can read that here. They use your 35 highest years, so adjusted for inflation, which were your 35 highest earning years, and then they divide by the number of months in 35 years. So that's why you see divided by 420. Once that process is done, and that's enough math for most of us, but once that process is done, the AIME is then applied to another formula that we'll put up for you here to calculate what's called your primary insurance amount. And your primary insurance amount is what you'll use to determine what your benefit is going to be at the age at which you are collecting. And so that's the next step. Once you know your PIA, and your PIA is calculated through that formula, once you know your PIA, your primary insurance amount, that's then going to be applied to the age at which you are registering for your benefit, or the age at which you're applying for your benefit. And so the age at which you're applying for your benefit is important because that's the amount of your PIA that you are going to receive. If you file early, so if you file before your full retirement age, so 62, 63, 64, you're going to receive a reduced amount, and we're going to put that on the screen for you so you can see how much of your PIA you'll receive versus the age at which you file. And there's a guaranteed increase to that benefit each year that you delay. You can see after your full retirement age, there's 3 consecutive years where you get 8% growth guaranteed to your Social Security benefit up until age 70. There's no benefit to delaying beyond that. And so claiming early before your full retirement age permanently reduces the amount of benefit that you receive. And so if you file at age 63, for example, you're permanently reduced from your PIA of 25% for your entire collecting life. So you only receive 75% of what you're entitled to. On the contrary, delaying your benefits past your FRA has significant advantages. The first of which is just a guaranteed 8% growth to 124% of your PIA at age 70. And so that's how your specific benefit is calculated. And so I start by saying it seems like such a simple thing that you should be able to figure out, and you can see what Social Security calculates and estimates your benefits to be on your portal at ssa.gov, or if they send you a paper statement. But if you want to calculate and figure out exactly if they're right and double check their math, that's how they come up with those numbers. Now, while that is important, and that is what most people use as their baseline for the strategy that they select for how they will file, I think it's important to note that there's other things that should be considered, such as spousal benefit, divorce benefit, widow's benefit. There's all types of benefits that we've highlighted in some other videos that you should also consider for your filing strategy. But finding out your primary insurance amount and what you're entitled to is a great place to start. And we've now illustrated for you how to do that. You can also, again, access it at ssa.gov. Once you figure out what those benefits are and what you're entitled to, then we encourage you to figure out how to maximize those, how to get the most out of your Social Security benefit. We do that with a free software, which you can see. We'll put up an example here. For this couple, we found a strategy that would increase their Social Security earnings by $102,000 lifetime. And we've illustrated that in detail in another video. So if it seems impossible to get information about your benefit, it's because it is. Again, it's a very simple question. How much am I entitled to? But the way that Social Security goes about calculating that is extremely detailed. And so, I think it's important to note that if you just go to the Social Security Administration office when you're 62 years old, I think the workers there are under the assumption that you want to receive your benefit then when you go in to file, and they're not going to maybe highlight some more intricate strategies that could get you more if you waited or delayed. And I'm not an advocate for everybody waiting or delaying until age 70, and I'm not an advocate for everybody waiting until only the earliest possible date of 62. But rather, I think that every unique person or couple has their own strategy for them. You paid in a 35 highest years different than everybody else. Your needs and your goals are different than everybody else. And so we would encourage you to maximize what you get out of your benefit because you spent a very long time and a lot of money paying in.